Yeah. Hey, welcome to Friday and to Designing Adobe XD. I am back in the host seat this week after taking a break. We'll get to that in a minute. But I am Talin Wadsworth. I'm lead designer of Adobe XD, and I'm here hosting once again, the Friday Designing Adobe XD show. And hello to everyone in the chat. Thank you for joining. So great to be back and just be seeing all those familiar names and faces and avatars pop up. Do you ever do that thing? I don't know if you guys do this. Like, do you ever have like weird pronunciations of people's like Twitter handles in your brain? And somehow it sort of starts to go along with the avatars in weird ways, and then you meet that person in real life, and then you figure out like you've been saying it wrong the whole time. I don't know if that happens to anyone else. It happens to me. Hey, what's going on, everybody in the chat? Igor, I love seeing you in the chat today because we're gonna be doing something special today. So just a second, we'll tee that up. Design Studio, hello Vidal, hello Vidal. Welcome, Savan, Alex, Jimmy, what's happening? Anna, Agnes, Heather, great to see Heather as well. Munir, how's it going? Good to see you back as always. Venkatesh, I hope I said that name, Venkatesh. Welcome, guys. How's everybody doing? I saw Eric on there as well. Milan. How's everybody doing? How's everybody's Friday? You guys doing cool work today? You guys, send it my way. I always love seeing the great work you're creating. I mean, hey, that's why I love doing what I do here at Adobe. So if you're joining us for the very first time, again, today is that day where we just talk about design. We talk about sort of the design philosophy behind XD. We talk about XD. Do you guys have any questions about XD? I can probably provide some answers. Or if you just want to talk about more general, just UX design and process, hey, we kind of cover all of that. And this now, as we kind of sort of come into the new year, and of course we're already in mid-February, which is crazy. Thanks, Alex. I love this hat. I've been very attached to it. The Polar. It's a team, I guess, from the Cuban baseball league back in the 50s. So we've been trying some new things, and today we are doing this is kind of our second time doing this now in the new year, but we are actually been doing some portfolio reviews. And portfolio reviews are really awesome because it can help designers get some really direct feedback. But what I like to do with that is actually use it as a sort of opportunity to also talk about some sort of bigger design things, some process things, some presentation things, those things that can help hopefully all of us so we can all take back to our own work and continue to make our own work better. And portfolios, like those are some of the things that I think we critique ourselves on the hardest, right? Like I know that it always is like the hardest task like in the world is like designing your own portfolio, because now you have to sort of look at all of your work and it helps to do it if you can be a little more objective on it. But of course, we're also close to our work that it's very hard sometimes. And so, sometimes prepping, our work to share with others, whether it's for a job or on social, it demands kind of a level of sort of, detailed sort of critique and sort of critical thinking about how now you want to tell your story. And that's always hard. That's a very tough place to be, again, because you're going to put yourself kind of out there, kind of into the world, and you're hoping to get good feedback back from that. But every time you do it, every time you're able to sort of put that portfolio together, you learn something. Every time you're able to share that with someone and get their feedback, again, you learn something, and then you take that back and you can make it better next time. So here we're gonna be talking about a bunch of that today. We're gonna be looking at some really amazing portfolios. I was so happy to see Heather on the chat, because Heather, we're gonna be checking out Heather's portfolio today, and Igor as well. I'm super excited to sort of dig in and take a look at your great work, and of course answer any questions you guys have. Venkatesh, so it is a polar bear. And there was a baseball team back in the 50s called the Cerveceria, so it was a beer company, Polar. So, just kind of a unique, I love baseball, and so, just kind of a unique take on a getting some of that vintage baseball feel, having something a little different, so. Heather had a question which I love to share. Heather, if you've tuned in before, I love to share new things, new features coming to XD. So what's up next for XD? It's a really great question. We are going to, this year, we're really focused on how designers work together. So of course, we're going to be adding some great new features, to the design tool, to the prototyping side of things. If you kind of think about auto animate, kind of what that's hinting at, you can maybe start to sort of squint and kind of maybe guess at a few things we're working on there. Of course, we're going to be adding some really amazing design tools. And we're also really working on how can we help teams work better together. And so some great things coming, if you're Creative Cloud Libraries users, if you're not Creative Cloud Library users. If you start, sort of checking out some of the things that have rolled into XD in the last few months, you'll start get kind of a picture. So I can't spell out anything specific, but I can say some of the big themes that we're sort of working on. And of course, we love hearing from you and the features that you would like to see in XD. So again, that's why I'm here. We'd love to talk about it. We'd love to hear what you're thinking and what you're doing and seeing what you're doing in XD. And of course, that really helps us guide our roadmap of features more than anything. So excited. Jimmy, Japan was amazing. I'm just gonna take a moment. Last week I was not on the stream. Ainsley and Alex are two amazing senior designers. They designed a great feature. I tuned in a little bit. It was like 5 in the morning in Japan, but it was fun to see them. They did a great job. We should definitely have Ainsley hosting more. She's amazing. So Japan, I spoke at a UX conference. UX design, as you kind of get outside of the Bay Area or even kind of the US, maybe some of Europe, UX design is not a sort of a fully sort of formed, thing yet, field yet. It's still emerging. People are still figuring out what that means. And so I had the opportunity to go over and speak at the first of its kind UX conference in Japan. It's called Why Design Tokyo? Very appropriate question, as well as a great sort of headline for a conference. Why design? Why is design important? And I got to go over there with my colleague Koi Vin, and we got to and Travis Nielsen, who you may have noticed, you may know from some of the streams about Adobe XD. And we got to go over with the amazing Adobe crew in Japan and DMM, which is a big digital agency over there in Japan, and Design Milk, which is a community group over there. And we got to talk about process, and we got to talk about design more broadly. And in particular, I talked about the role of critique and feedback in the design process. So it kind of touches on some of the things we're going to talk about today. Like, why is it important to sort of show and share your work and get that important to sort of open yourself up to feedback. Feedback's been a big part of my process and building my team here at Adobe. And so we got to go over and kind of share some of that. And then we also did a day of workshops. It was super inspiring to sort of meet all the designers there in Japan and talk about kind of the challenges they're facing in the industry as well. Really getting design to have a bigger seat at the table, to be in earlier on these projects. And so it was just so exciting. I hope some of them are tuning in. I told them about the stream, but again, it's 5 a.m. in Japan. So So Alex, today I'm not only looking at UI and UX portfolios. I do like to mix it up. Again, I think there are lessons that can be learned whenever you're talking about how you show and share creative work. So we're going to be covering some of that. Jimmy, let's see, my favorite baseball player. If I go back to the early days, oh, now I'm completely blanking. Here I am. Wow. Okay, that was big. I don't know. I'll have to tackle that one later, Jimmy. All right. So, hey, Sabit. Asama, how are you? Yeah, Munir Travis was there. So let's dig into it today. So we have a Slack channel. I don't know if you guys know. If you participate in the daily creative challenges through Adobe XD, we have a really amazing community of designers. Really, where you can share your work, share some of the problems you're going through and working through in XD. And what we've done last month and now this month, we've sort of called for submissions for portfolios. And those are the portfolios that I'll be reviewing here today. I'm not going to get to all of them, but we're slowly going to chip away. We're going to be covering, say, 4 or 5 of them today. And just kind of using them as a place where we can, just kind of talk about design, talk about, how best to present your work. Again, there are a lot of ways to do that today, and there are a lot of different places to share your work. And we are going to be looking, of course, at the more public-facing version today. So we're going to give some feedback on how to best present your work on different platforms or through your own website, as well as talking about how to sort of present your work to prospective clients or prospective hiring managers. So we'll kind of cover any of that today. And if some of you here on the chat are have been through it before, I'd love to hear about your experiences. And I'm sure that would really benefit anyone who's joining us on the chat today who may be just starting out, just kind of getting their legs under them, getting into the design industry. So be sure to be you guys be sharing your experiences here in the chat today, and I'd love to sort of talk about those as well. So yeah, let's dig into it. Alex, let's see how far we get today, but maybe we can get there to yours as well. Munir, Travis is amazing. I'm sure he will be back on another one of our 3-day streams, so look for him. He's a popular one. He's a very talented designer. I loved spending time with him, so we had a good time. All right, so today we're gonna kick things off. I hope Heather's not too nervous. We are going to be checking out Heather O'Neill's work. She is a UX designer and artist. Heather, where are you working today? Are you working today? Are you freelancing? What kind of work are you doing right now? Let us know in the chat. So here we are checking out Heather's Behance. She also has her website, which we will also go check out. I'm gonna pop that open as well. Because we're gonna be, again, I think there are, uses of Behance that are really great for sharing your portfolio. And then of course, you having your your Behance portfolio site or having your own website, and they're kind of good things to look at. Also things that, maybe are, maybe weak points for these different platforms, and we'll kind of be talking about all of that. So here we are looking at Heather. Heather has some really great sort of visual thumbnails here, which I really love. So Heather, a little update. So she's looking for work. Okay, any prospective hiring managers on the chat today? You should check it out. So she was doing print work. And so now she's transitioned over to UX design. She's actually got 2 interviews coming. Thanks to getting the challenge, learning XD and getting those challenges under your belt, because kind of maybe helped get your foot in the door. That's really cool. Excellent. All right. Well, we definitely check it out. Again, I think any good hiring manager will see your skills as a designer overall and take that into account. Of course, for more experienced positions, they like to see more experience, with some of those, maybe some of those platforms or some of those, ways of working. UX design is really about how you can not only sort of do the visual design, but also move a user kind of through a successful experience or a successful journey within your application and your service. So of course, as we're talking about this, that might be, some areas that we talk about and how to sort of, if you're going for a UX design job, how do you set up your portfolio? How do you, even if you don't have a lot of experience, how do you show off the right skills and the right way of thinking? So we'll be talking about a lot of that today. All right, so here we are checking out Heather's work, and I love, of course, I love seeing the XD logo on there. I've been doing XD for a while now, so that's really cool. Bonus points, and of course, if you say we're coming to maybe get a job, at a place like Adobe, for me, if I was a hiring manager and I saw that you were engaged with my product or my service, that would actually show off very well. Showing an interest in those places that you're going to go and possibly want to get hired on at. I will say from my own experience, I actually kind of failed at that a couple times. I went into a couple job interviews, and they were really off of cold calls, and I didn't really know what I would do for those companies. And let's just say it was very apparent, both from my portfolio and from my responses and answers. And all the whole team kind of sniffed that out. And let's just say I've learned from those experiences. But you always want to show an interest in kind of the places you're going to work with. And so that's just one of those ways you start to tailor your portfolio to your needs. And because this is really about, you're telling a story here. And if we look at Heather's story overall, I think what I really like about this, Heather, is as you're making that transition, you've put your UX work kind of at the top, right? So here on your Behance page, when you go into to that edit mode, you can control the layout of your work, right? Of how your work is displayed here on your profile page on Behance. And whether it's on Behance or on your own site, if you're looking to get a UX UI design job, but you do have other experience, you don't want to not include the other experience. You want to include it where relevant. But you kind of front load your work. And so the first thing the prospective client or prospective hiring manager is going to see is the thing that you want them to see, right? There's this old sort of saying kind of in the design world that the client will always pick the thing you don't want them to pick if you show it to them. So only show the things that you want people to see and you want people to judge you on. So yeah. All right, so Heather, let's dive in here and let's check out the Adobe Creative Challenge Finance app. Let's go check it out. Oh, this is very nice presentation. Again, the thumbnail was very eye-catching. Heather, it seems like you have a real eye for composition, which I think is a huge benefit. Again, you're really thinking about your portfolio or your website. Again, you're trying to tell a story, and you're actually in designing your Behance portfolio page. You're doing a little bit of UX design. Again, you want to, give someone a preview of what kind of an overview of what this project might be about. I think this is a pretty successful layout here. Again, it gives me some of the flavor of maybe the theme or the overall style. It's really great. And then you sort of hop in, and now Heather, you're doing something where you're actually kind of reinforcing that style, and you're sort of showcasing the brand and the challenge kind of up front. And here you are, of course, this was for the daily challenge. So this project page is really tailored to the daily challenge's needs, which is great. And so here we're going to roll through here. Oh, I love this. This is really nice. Again, if you're going for a job that's much more kind of, again, a hybrid between, UX and sort of, user experience flow and UI flow, it's nice to see those different elements represented here. Heather, this is really nice. I really like how you've called out some of the different sort of design elements. They're all related in style, which shows a really nice sophistication, in building that system and having that cohesiveness. I think everybody could really take a page out of Heather's book here. Again, this is something as a hiring manager for UX UI design, then I really, this just resonates with me a lot. And again, it shows that you're really thinking about the system. I think here, Heather, what you could do to kind of keep bumping this up is start to put in some content, even if it's fake content. I think lorem ipsum is a great starting point when you're in a pinch. And as I think, again, this is probably for the challenge. I think this is great for the challenge and really goes above and beyond. But as you wanted to continue to further this, I think you would continue to add some more detail and show that you're giving that level of thought that you've given to the layout of your project page. Start giving that thought all the way down to the details, right? This here, again, feels more default, if you could take my meaning, and not the worst critique in the world, but it's, again, carrying through that care, that eye for detail and that care kind of all the way to the details of your project page, can really make the difference between, again, if there are two designers and they may have, kind of similar experience levels, that designer who really follows through on those details, can really bump them up quite a bit higher than the designer, again, who might be of a similar skill and experience level, right, who doesn't, right? That's sometimes the margins that you're kind of working with as you're evaluating different designers. So, yeah. Chris, what's happening? Chris Cannon, great to see you on the stream there. Nice. Look, this is really nice. So we're seeing kind of different states of the application, and we're showing, Heather here. What's really great is you're showing the system and the consistency sort of applied, both from a branding and from a UI sort of element perspective and style perspective, now being applied to different screens. I think it's really nice. Of course, now again, you're leading us through this story, Heather. Right? Heather's really. She's showing now those UI elements in use inside of the application. And I think that's really, really nice. So here we are sort of coming in and showing different states. This is great. I think that here I'd love to see kind of even more. Again, this is one of those areas where, particularly when you're doing a project that is hypothetical. Again, this is something that you're creating and you're telling the story. You want to show, again, if it was a real world use case, you'd have to be showing kind of the extremes, right? What does this look like when the data is flat? What does this look like when it's packed in with data and numbers? And so I think this is an opportunity where on these screens, instead of just showing some changes in the UI states, you could also maybe show some of the different states or variations of your infographics. Tim, what's happening, man? Good to see you. How you been? Anna, I haven't said hello to you. How are you doing? How are you guys? What's going on today? We're reviewing some portfolios. We're looking at Heather's beautiful work right now, and of course your nice sort of screen here. And let's see. This is the embedded of the Creative Challenge video as well. Yeah, Heather, I think you more than exceeded the delivery for the challenge. I think, again, speaks to your experience as a designer overall. I think you told a really nice story. I think what I'd like to see here now, again, and it could actually maybe even start to sort of bring all this together rather than now having these static screens, is seeing that embedded interactive prototype or that video recording of your app in action. I think that would really kick this one up. I think that would just just tie it all together, show off those new chops, those newfound skills that you're working on inside of XD. And I think that would just, again, kind of bump this up. But this is a really nice project. Again, I think here it's really about like that next iteration of this. And I think then you're kind of well on your way to sort of showing that. And Heather, this is for the challenge, and now as you move beyond the challenge and you kind of move now out into the hiring world, I think you could start to pull back that messaging on the challenge. I think you could now sort of say this is a concept app for a financial application for tracking your your monthly finances. Right, start giving, again, what were the things that were prompting you to do the design more so than just the challenge? Like, how did you sort of know to kind of, again, create all these different graphics, and how did you sort of build the story around that? I think you can start telling that story here too. Again, that would really then now move this out of the creative challenge world and start to present you more as someone who is really pushing on their own skills and continuing to develop. And not needing necessarily the daily challenge now that you've sort of completed it. So I think that's kind of maybe as you could keep building on top of this project page to continue to sort of refine and tell your story. And I think this is a great start for that. Looking through some of the other ones, let's go dive in and check out again, Heather. Like, now that I've sort of seen kind of one of your creative challenge pages. And of course, I was expecting it in a way that the payoff was going to be that you were organizing and displaying this creative challenge project similar to the other one, right? So again, a lot of hiring managers only have very limited time to check out your portfolio, especially that first round. And so coming in here, I'm expecting that you've laid things out very, very, very nicely. You're telling a story. You're using the brand and the style elements to sort of theme the whole project page to really make things feel very cohesive. I think that's all great. You're pulling out the UI elements here. Again, you're working. That shows. I think this is really showing your experience level. This sophistication and this application of similar storytelling across these projects is great. And again, I kind of expected it. And actually, I would, if I didn't see that, then that might be kind of a hit against this. But seeing all that, again, I'm more than confident that any other page that I would look at like this would be similar and show off similar level of thinking and experience. So like, I would see these two and I'd be like, great, that's looking great. And then I would start moving on to try to see more diverse projects, right? I've seen this type, I like it. It shows a level of sophistication, could go deeper on the details, can continue to sort of show off and having the interactive app here or a video of the app in action, screen recording, I think would just, again, be the thing that these two projects really need. But other than that, like those are really solid projects. So nice work on that. All right, let's go in and maybe try one of these other ones. Let's see. This is, so this is a, this was for the Discord. I remember that stream. That was a really great stream. Let's go down here. Let's go check out, again, part of, UI and UX is about research and about testing, right? Like the way that we make our designs better is through engaging with our users and getting their feedback and continuing to iterate. So I love this one, really caught me. So I'm just gonna dive into this one. And it looks like maybe this one was kind of before you started layering in some of those skills that I'm sort of seeing shown off in the other ones. So Heather, here, the last thing I'll say is that now that you've sort of, you've built up some new skills and you've applied them to those sort of newer projects, now's the time to also go back and evaluate your previous work, right? And start to say, do these live at the level of those newer projects now? Do I need to go back and tweak these, or do I need to leave them out altogether? On Behance and on social, sometimes it's very easy to kind of just leave them there, and it's good to show a breadth of work. But I think when you're going in, to be hired for a position, you want to make sure like everything's buttoned up. So I would just, this is where, editing becomes really important. So knowing, again, the story that you want to tell, and every project is really, tailored to sort of drive that message home. And I think this one is a little less accessible, but I do love seeing process. But visually, I think the newer projects are much more tied together. But actually here, I do love this, and I almost want you to see you on this one to actually kind of front load some more of these elements down here. And I think UX and UI, like this is super important to show your engagement with research and testing, and how you break down and you look at and sort of evaluate different users and how they can be successful in the application. Seeing this user flow, I really like seeing all of this. Again, I just want this to sort of visually be up to that level of your latest projects. But this is all great work, and don't bury it, right? Pop this up to the top. Again, this is exactly, again, like if you're going for a UX UI design position, this is really valuable. Like this is something that, again, would just kick you, kind of put you above, people of similar experience level and skill sets, seeing this attention to, paying attention to research and user testing. So it's great. Matthias, what's going on, man? How are you? Good to see you in the chat as well. Always good to see you guys. All right, Heather, overall, I think this is great. I, again, really go back and think about, again, does your earlier work, stand up to your newest work? Is there something valuable in a story that you want to tell with your older work, maybe some of your illustrative work? I think it's great to include that stuff, but I think, again, make sure that it just rises to that level and tells that story the way you want it to be told. All right? Cool. All right, nice work, Heather. Keep it up. I would love to continue to sort of hear about your journey. But yeah, great work, great progression. Yeah, really nice work. So show more interactive, show more of your app in action, using the record, screenshot feature in XD in the preview window. And you can even do some voiceover now if you want. It's pretty cool. So go, keep working at it, keep plugging away. You're doing great. I can't wait to hear how your interviews go. So yeah, I hope they go well. So, all right, excellent. All right, next up, I saw him earlier on the chat, though I haven't seen him recently, but Igor Stalchuk is the next designer we are going to be reviewing today. Yeah, so, I was about to say hi to Miriam. Miriam, nice to see you as well. I know you're a regular, so it's great. I always love seeing those names pop up. So here we are checking out Igor. Let's sort of get an overview of Igor. So Igor has a really strong brand, and I noticed this when I saw his avatar pop up. So here so he's got an overall really strong brand. And Eduardo, if I've got some time today, we might be able to check out some more, but I'm going to be doing more portfolio reviews. So if you didn't get in this time, we're going to be doing this again next month. So join the Adobe XD Daily Challenge Slack channel, and there'll be an update from the Adobe Live team when we go live with some more portfolio reviews. So get your submission in. All right, so here we go. Igor, yeah, again, showing some really strong work, really strong visual style. I'm getting a sense that, he's from the Ukraine. It's always cool to see the work that it's going on around the world. I mean, that's one of my favorite things about Behance. Behance is one of those first platforms that really felt like a global platform for creatives, and not where, you know, like I think when I first was going to school, it felt like I was only really exposed to, you know, design happening here in the United States. And as I started to sort of course, branch out, and you had to go dig deeper, you know, digging through the stacks of, you know, old design books and everything. But, you know, Behance was a place that I could really kind of keep up with my peers, you know, not just in the US, but kind of around the world. And so I've always loved that about Behance. Let's see. So here we are checking out Igor's work. Looks like he's got some really fun illustrative style. Got a lot of projects here, and also showing off some more specific sort of illustration featured work here at the bottom. Let's go back up here, and this one really caught my eye. I really love this little sort of illustration style. So let's go dive in. And again, you know, like I said, like this is kind of just a graphic that I think is really attention grabbing. And I think we should be thinking about our portfolio as a design problem all on its own. And here at this level, you know, people are just naturally going to be attracted to more contrast, you know, more, you know, better sort of placement of images, focus, right? Whatever, how you're going to draw people into your work to get them to click on and go deeper and see more about this project. So you always got to be thinking about all these different levels as people are engaging with it. The other cool thing about Behance, which I also like to say if you're designing your own site, is make sure it looks great on mobile. Today we're reviewing this on my laptop, but you know, as I'm out and about during my day and I'm in meetings, it's also helpful for me to see it on my phone. So if you are going to be sending your portfolio to someone, make sure that it is responsive. And of course, one of the benefits of using Behance is that it just built-in responsive platform. So you know it's going to look great on mobile, but always be checking that and being aware of that. All right, so let's go in and check this out. So, this is for the Daily Creative Challenge. Oh, and we have some, we had a little thing pop on here. Here we go. We can actually see this interactive project. Let's check it out. Ooh, little animation. Very nice. I can either give money. Maybe this is for the watch. I'm not sure. Now that's also, you know, again, a good thing that you might want to sort of be aware of is like, you know, really defining this project for me as I'm coming in. Is this for the watch? Is this for the phone? You know, and presenting it and giving people a sense of that is going to be really important. So let's see. I'm going to do money. I'm going to enter my passcode. Yeah, I think this is for my watch. 2, 4. I love seeing the embedded prototype though. That's super great. But I think, you know, Igor, a little setup here I think would help. Really helping the user kind of imagine, okay, I'm clicking through this on the web, but where is this meant to be experienced? Again, and then, you know, can give the viewer or the sort of prospective client or hiring manager kind of a better idea of, you know, what was going through your head as you were designing this. All right, so I'm gonna pay Sophia, and I'm gonna pay her 15. Very good. Now I can choose my card and pay Sophia with that one. Nice. All right, so I had some cards loaded. What I really like about this is that, you know, like anytime you're sort of, you know, embedding a prototype, and you want to make sure that you're showing kind of the full end-to-end user experience, at least for the flow that you're intending to show. And setting that up is always helpful for the viewer, so they're not wondering like where all are all these other, you know, pieces of the application. You want to tell a very clear and focused story, and that goes kind of from, again, those your profile page all the way down to the individual sort of elements and the individual you know, interactive prototypes like this one. Okay, so that's really nice. All right, that's great. Like there was a video walkthrough of this as well, and now sort of we're seeing some of those design elements. So, you know, with Igor, you know, I'd actually say take a page out of Heather's book on this one. I think, you know, setting the project up a little more can give us a better sense of like, you know, what you were designing for, like what was the problem statement that you were trying to sort of design for here. Show, you know, talking more about the device. I think a little more project setup would be really helpful. And then once you've set it up, then I think that's the one you show the interactive prototype. Again, unless the interactive prototype can kind of do a lot of that setup for you, That's usually when it can kind of stand on its own. But I think in this case, when you're sort of showing off UX and UI projects, it's always great to sort of set the stage for the viewer, because they don't know what you know, and you need to help explain that to them. And don't take anything for granted, right? Really, really define it as if, again, this is the person who's seeing it for the first time, probably only got a couple minutes. So really set it up and really draw them in as you were doing with the thumbnail. Continue that here, and I would suggest go checking out Heather's work. So. All right. So Igor, on some of these other ones, I think this is where some of that focus could also help. The focus that you have here in sort of setting up and drawing you in, I think these ones are a little less successful. I've kind of seen this style. I think this is a style that you kind of see around, and they might give you a sort of an idea of the breadth of a project, but they're not really that sort of eye-catching. And so that's something to really be aware of, is you're sort of scanning through here. Again, people are going to be sort of drawn to or visually attracted to certain projects over others. And if you really want someone to see something, you don't want them to overlook it, this is that level, this is that first impression that they're going to get. So, Anis, how are you? Great to see you on the chat. If you guys have any questions about XD, about design, let me know. Listen, we're just kind of reviewing portfolios. We're talking about design. We're talking about design process. Do you have any experiences from your putting together your own portfolio, or and maybe the last interview you were on? Anything that you learned that you could kind of help everybody out here in the chat, or help some of those in the chat who maybe are just getting started in their career? Feel free to share. So, Sydney, so. I'm not the Photoshop person, but we do definitely have some great streams on the way, and some archived about Photoshop specifically. So as I said, my sort of my jam here at Adobe is XD. To be honest with everybody on the chat, I am not a great Photoshop user. So you would definitely want to learn that from somebody else. I know just enough to be dangerous in Photoshop, and I can get pretty deep, but I have always been a little weak on the Photoshop side. So you definitely want to pick up some Photoshop tips from some of our other amazing designers and streamers. So, Miriam, so what is some new stuff coming in XD? Let me see. So we are working on some really great sort of design features, so maybe some new tools, some improvements to some past tools. I'd keep your eye on Repeat Grid, keep your eye on responsive resize, some really cool stuff that the team is working on there. Also some really amazing advancements in prototyping. I wish I could share more on that, but I don't want to give it away. There's just such great work happening on that front. Just springboarding now off auto animate, so many things open up. Really exciting. And then on the other side, as I mentioned earlier, we're doing a lot of work around how designers work together and how they work together with their teams. And that's a lot of stuff that I've been personally working on lately as well. So more to come as well. Let's see, Heather had a question. So on your portfolio site, can you just put, I think you can, I'm not sure, any Behance people might know about that, if you can put it on portfolio without putting it on Behance first. I think you can. I think you can sort of manage what's on each of those separately. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Ryan's got it. Designing XD and XD. That's my jam. That's what I do every day. So yeah, more to come. Ryan, I don't know if you know. I mean, you can record a video. You can record a screen recording, and we just launched voice narration for your screen recordings. So it's a handy way to share with your team. If they can't maybe check out the prototype URL, or maybe a way to sort of do a little more explainer kind of as you go. It's been very handy. So, yeah, Mikhail. So we have responsive resize that launched last year, and some really cool updates coming on that front, maybe later this year. So, yeah, Ryan, are you talking about what kind of video are you talking about? Video support? Video support is being worked on right now. So I hope sooner rather than later. It's something I've really missed, as well as GIF support. So yeah, coming. So, Matthias coming in with the save. Yes, your portfolio step does not need to be on Behance first. Nice. All right, let's see. What else are we gonna check out here on yours? thing today. I want to see kind of what's in this finance one, because we actually just saw Heather's finance. So let's go check out Igor's. Well, we got some media problems today on Behance. I don't know what's going on there. Nice. See, this one, Igor, I think you're setting it up a little more. You're showing us some more variation, showing more of the system kind of earlier. I think that's great. I think this is just missing, again, similar to the past one. I think we're missing a little bit more of that, like set up this project for us. You know, why did you want to go and work on this creative challenge? What went into kind of how, you know, the solution to where you ended up? I think, again, you don't want to go kind of overboard, but you want to give that viewer kind of a little more information, help them figure out kind of where you were and what problem you were trying to solve. And then I think your designs, if they reinforce a lot of those statements that you were making about why you were doing this, even better. Again, so really set up your work for the user, and really use the project page on Behance to kind of do that as an opportunity to tell that story. So. All right, let's check out one more here. Osama. So Osama's mentioning that, man, we get a lot of requests. Prioritizing what it is we're gonna work on is a really tricky problem. Again, because there's so many things we could be doing, but there's only so many of us, and of course we had unlimited, time. We would be able to do all of it. But yeah, we do need to prioritize, and a lot. So kind of what goes into, kind of give you guys a little behind the scenes on kind of what helps us prioritize. So one thing we look at is direct user feedback, right? What is the community talking about? What are people missing in XD to help them do their work, right? Because at the end of the day, we really want to create an app that really allows you to do your best work. So that's kind of number one. Number two is we do a ton of research. I work with an amazing researcher named Lindsay Wallace. She's been on the stream with me before. I need to have her back on. We do a lot of research, and that really helps us try to get down to, like, where is design as an industry headed? What problems are designers facing now, and what problems will they be facing in the future, right? So that's kind of like the other key component. And then the third one is really kind of like, again, from the feedback and from that research, what have we defined as the trajectory and the long-term plan for XD, right? Like that's that other piece that's super important. Again, if we were just sort of designing kind of every feature request, we'd have a backlog of features to do for 2+ years, right? So within all of that, we got to have a really clear vision on where we want to take XD, and that's really, again, that's founded on both user feedback and research, right? And that really helps us sort of keep that shining beacon out there, and it helps us evaluate any feature request or any shift we see in the research. And without that, again, like, we could just go make Photoshop again, but we got Photoshop. Photoshop is amazing, but really we have to have that. I think this has really been part of the founding principle of the team from the get-go, is really really defining for us and for the community of designers and for Adobe, what it is we're trying to do and where we think design is going in the future. And so when we launched XD. All right, we launched early. We launched in a phase where I think maybe it wasn't ready for everybody. But what we really had was we had design, and we had interactive prototyping, and you could share it. And that was the core statement that we made after doing our research and thinking about our own work here as designers, and thinking about and listening to what the design community their problems were. Right, we really said that a modern design tool needs great design features, needs to bring in interactivity and motion and animation, and you need to be able to share it with anyone from anywhere. And that really gets to, like, the core of what it's all about, designing Adobe XD. Sorry, a little tangent, but I love talking about it. This is some of my favorite stuff to talk about. So Igor, this is great work. Again, a lot of the feedback I gave to Heather, I think, applies. I think you should definitely, now that you've sort of progressed in your career and your experience, go back and look at these past projects and really decide, okay, what message do I want people to take away from viewing my portfolio, and emphasize and tell that story over and over again, and edit out those things that does not support that story, right? So, yeah. All right. Let's see. Munir had a question about when I hire designers for the Adobe XD team, do I focus on super talented or the ones that are most suitable for your culture and spirit of the team? So, Munir, it's a mix, right? Like, so first off, we have to, hopefully people are excited about working on XD, and we reach out and we find very talented people and they apply. And one of the first things we do, of course, is we need to assess their skill level, right? If we're hiring for a senior designer, we want to make sure that their portfolio is reflective of kind of that level of experience, and that's kind of like the first pass, right, as we're evaluating candidates, as well as looking at their resume and really looking at trying to get a sense of where are they headed, what are they interested in, what are they excited by, right? I remember sometimes people not only will send their portfolios, but in the past I've gotten like a little leave behind, a little something that really emphasizes that designers, not only their experience, but their story, and really helps me understand kind of where they're going. And that, Munir, I think starts to get at some of what you're talking about is, so after we get past that part, as we start moving into those more one-on-one interviews, we start to look for that cultural fit. We start to look for like, this person gonna be easy to work with? Are they gonna fit into kind of our plan and what we wanna do? Also, how can we best help them, right? That's the other side of this, is like, can we support what they want to do and the trajectory of their career, right? Because that's almost to me is as important as all those other factors. Is like, does that person fit in, and are we the best place to help them further their goals and career needs? So it's a little all of that, and that's really why we have some of these phases of we do reviews kind of early of portfolio and resume submissions. We do one-on-one interviews, and then we move to more sort of team panel interviews, all the way through to the final hire. So I hope that gives you an idea of how we kind of evaluate talent here at Adobe. Igor, great to see you back. Yeah, man. It said like, any more you want me to go deeper on any of that? Let me know. Hit me up on Twitter. Great work. Keep it up. I've seen just from looking at browsing your portfolio. It's great to see designers, progressing in their skills and their experience, and continuing to tell their story. Really great work, man. Keep it up. Let's see, Miriam, there are sometimes remote jobs in Adobe, design in Adobe, but we're not just based here. We have offices in New York and Seattle and Utah, as well as both in San Francisco and San Jose, as well as offices all over the world. So we have design kind of at all of those in different ways. Part of the Adobe XD team, actually, some of our talented designers are in New York, which is really cool. And a lot of the other design teams are there in New York as well. So, and we do have designers who do work remotely in certain cases. It's for us, we like that sort of team environment. But again, like motivated, talented designers, people who we really feel could add something to the team if they're remote, it's definitely something we consider as we're looking at candidates. So, Abdulaziz, so how we came to get this great sample of work today is through the XD Daily Creative Challenge Slack channel. So every month we'll put out a call, and you can submit your portfolios, and then we choose the portfolios for the show. So, yep. All right, so here we are, and we're gonna check out Rania Mohana. She's a graphic designer. She's from Gaza, from the Palestinian territory. That's really amazing to see. Again, that's one of the things I love about Behance. There's just so much amazing work from around the world, and I love seeing it. And Rania, I'm really excited to check out your work here as well. So it looks like Rania does some fashion work, as well has been doing some UX and UI design. So some of these are very catching. I really like, I also like seeing some of these, again, maybe some might be turned off from it, but I like seeing a point of view myself. So I like seeing some of the topics covered here just at a glance. Let's go in and check out Rania's, let's check out the app, because we're a UX UI design first and foremost, design show, I guess, first and foremost. So let's go check it out. All right. And I don't think we have an office in Chicago, but maybe we will one day. I don't know. Yeah, Miriam, nothing in North Carolina. I do know some really talented people in North Carolina, though, if you were looking to connect with other creatives. All right, so here we are. Rania is doing an app for social media. So let's go and check it out. So she's got kind of this sort of like header image that is kind of reflected also in the UI of her app. So she's sort of presenting her app sort of on a device. I mean, that's always nice to see. Again, presentation is a huge part of what we do. So that's really nice. Let's see. Tobias had a question. Just starting out with Adobe XD and was wondering whether I'm able to bring XD designs to life after finishing in XD. That's a good question, Tobias. So, XD really wanted to focus on, at least in these first sort of versions, I really focus on that early part of the process where you're solving some of those UX and UI problems, so you can prototype them and start answering those questions before you start sort of going into code. We do not have a way yet to share your designs beyond the interactive prototypes that you can generate out of XD. But you never know what's in the future. Being able to sort of maybe publish things, maybe not from directly in XD, but we have we have this amazing plugin community growing. Maybe someone will build a plugin. I know there's a couple plugins now where you can sort of extract CSS, and that's really cool. But XD is really for design concept and prototype. And when you're ready to sort of, go out and create your app or your website for real, if you have your own coding skills, that's a huge benefit. Or if you're working alongside of an engineer or a developer, then we have features like the design specs feature where you can actually share not just the prototype, but also the sort of specs, the sort of measurements and style and assets, for development. So today there's not a way to sort of publish directly to a website from XD, but you never know in the future. If that's something that you'd be interested in, Tobias, you should definitely maybe go suggest it. I don't know if you guys know, but we have a user voice forum, uservoice.adobexd.com, or is it adobexd.uservoice.com? I forget. But you can go there and actually submit feature ideas that you'd like to see in XD and go vote on them. And that's where the team is sort of in there and looking at those and responding directly and actually helping us, again, sort of evaluate our roadmap. So let me know. Maybe other people would like to see that as well. So, all right. So Rania, we're checking out your app here. So I really love kind of how you're starting to present the application. I think when we start getting here, one thing I thought that Heather was doing really well on her portfolio site was a consistent sort of style, an application of that style that ran not just inside the application, but it was also applied to the project page. And I think that's something here that I'd like to see a little more. You kind of break that a little here as we start getting into these larger circles and start bringing in some other colors. It seems to kind of break from the overall sort of style of the application and some of the imagery you're using sort of earlier. So again, I love that you're sort of presenting your work and you're showing it on devices and you're showing different views of it and you're showing different content inside of that UI. And then I would just say, take that style, those blue gradients, some of those type styles, and apply them, to the whole project overall. I think we break the style just a little bit, but I really overall want to say I like the breadth of this page. I like the different types of profile views you're seeing, seeing the different sort of different parts of the UI. I think that's really nice. I think here, similarly to some of Heather's projects and Igor, is now we want to see the app in action. Right now, I'm not sure how all of these pieces relate to one another. And the best way to do that is either to embed the interactive prototype or to show a video walkthrough of the experience. And I think that's really, again, that sort of ties all these things together. Again, so looking for a more consistent style and doing some of that storytelling, as we talked about with on some of Igor's projects, setting this up a little more, and then at the end, sort of tying it all together with the interactive prototype or the video walkthrough of the UI in action. Again, helps me understand how all these screens fit together. So I think that's really great. Yep. All right, so some of the others, let's go in here. I was really sort of drawn to this purple. So let's go check it out real quick. Yeah, all right, and we're gonna, actually, I gotta wrap it up. I was just noticing the time. We've got a couple minutes here. Thank you all. Rania, great work. Igor, Heather, thank you all. I really love seeing your work. Always leave these sort of so inspired. Talking to you here directly on the chat, seeing your work again. I mean, that just gives me motivation to come and do what I do here at Adobe. Really, again, just so inspired by the work that you're all doing and the progress you're making in your careers. I love hearing about that. So if you guys ever, again, hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Talin, or again, we're going to be back here next week. And we're going to have another cool topic lined up and maybe a special guest. We'll see how next week goes. And thank you all for joining me. Well, that's very nice of you, Ryan. Maybe next time we'll share some Tokyo pictures. If you guys also want to see some of the shots from Tokyo from the UX conference, you can hit me up on Instagram as well. And had a great time chatting with you all. No problem, Ryan. Autocorrect. I spell my own name wrong because of autocorrect. Come on. Ed, I love that idea. I've wanted that for so long. Go vote on that. That's been a tricky one to fit in, but I love that. Go check that out. Go give us a vote on that one, on seeing more device frames and skins for your prototypes. Yeah, Ed, I want that. I have designed that before. I'm just saying. I have designs for that from a while ago. But I really want to see it. Again, there's a lot of things we have to take into account as we're working on these features, and that one just hasn't quite bumped up yet. But maybe soon, you never know. Thank you all for joining me. Favorite baseball player? I'm gonna go with Ichiro, just because I was just in Japan. Go with the hometown boy. Ichiro was just so fun to watch. All out throughout his career. That guy's just an amazing, talented, all-around player. They know how to do baseball in Japan. If there's one place outside of the U.S. and Cuba and South America and all over the world. Never mind. I'm just sort of rambling now, but let's come back next week. We'll talk more baseball if you want, and we'll always here talking about UX. I always love hearing your feedback. Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy, make something cool, try something new. We'll be back next week. So thank you all, enjoy, and I'll see you next week.